Chargers have a defensive lineman that's pretty unique. His name is Christopher Hinton, and he was a Michigan player. And now he reunites with Jim Harbaugh in a very important position. And he's a player that I think could do really well. If you're new to the channel, we're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel all about the LA Chargers because we like Jim Harbaugh. We're Michigan fans. So I know a lot about Chris Hinton and what he did at Michigan, and now to see him come together with Jim Harbaugh at a point in his career, Chris Hinton, where it's like, all right, things could take off. Like this is he's entering his third season. It's like it just feels like a perfect mesh. Jim Harbaugh's coming in. It's at a position of need if you're a Chargers fan where you really want to see um, good things happen for him and quite honestly for the Chargers, right? So Chris Hinton is 6'4", 310. He's a defensive tackle, more of a position. So actually there's a good write-up on him about how Chris Hinton is hoping his career can take off with the Chargers now that Jim Harbaugh is there. So here's the thing. As a true freshman, Hinton started one game and played in 12. So when he was a true freshman, um, it was interesting because this is right when Michigan was kind of like, what are they? Jim Harbaugh been there for a few years. It can't really beat anybody. It's like, well, what's going on here? Like, are we getting there? And then right there, he kind of develops a little bit. Then the end of his time at Michigan is that 2021 season where they put it all together and just dominate. He became a full-time starter during that 2021 season. He had 33 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, another sack, pass breakups, forced fumble, 2 fumbles recovery, and he was named Big Ten honorable mention. He did not go drafted in 2022, and here's why. I think his measurables are okay. His production wasn't there, plain and simple, because it was kind of COVID. Michigan was trying to figure out what they were, what's going on. They're not beating Ohio State. It's COVID. It was weird. And then at the end of his career is when Michigan just started to take off, and that was his final season. So you can see that he went to the Giants, the Dolphins, the Falcons, and now with the Chargers on November 9th. He did make his NFL debut against the Dolphins on December 11th and then would later sign to the active roster. He would stick around the Chargers that 23 season last year, and then this year he signed a futures contract with the Chargers. Remember, a futures contract just says, hey, we want you to be here. Don't go try to find your path. We got you. And so he comes and he's going to be on the Chargers this year. And so there's 90 men right now, got to get down to 53. So again, 6'4", 310, Michigan. He is a guy that can play soundly within gap responsibilities, sets the edge well, drops his weight easily on double teams. Father was a top 5 pick and a 7-time Pro Bowler. If you know that name sounds familiar, because even when you Google Chris Hinton, it's like, oh yeah, that's all right. No frills player who works hard to get the job done. His pre-existing relationship with new coach Jim Harbaugh could pay dividends. I don't know, right? It doesn't matter sometimes if you know the coach, or it's like, does that matter? But maybe it can. But this is the absolute perfect description of him. He is unique because he's big, strong. He's got the measurables, but the production wasn't there. It's kind of bounced around, hasn't found a home, but you could have a really good defensive tackle, young defensive tackle for cheap on your team. And this is what it says: odds of making the roster and what to expect. Hinton only has been on the team for about a season and a half, yet he's one of the more seasoned players in the room because that interior defensive line, that room, good or bad, it's not experienced, and there's not any just like straight up ballers in there. So he's likely to make the final roster as emergency depth on game days. So that might not seem like a big deal. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But what is a big deal is that the Chargers, if they want to start this rebuild, we talk about the blue chip players that the Chargers have: Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Bosa. They've got the blue chip players. They've got guys that are part of the core that's like, I don't know, kind of a lot of question marks that like, what if Quentin Johnston can work out? What if Ladd McConkey can make this happen? What, there's Josh Palmer. What if he can turn around? There's those guys. But then there's the bottom of the roster that when I look at the Lions and how they've rebuilt, the bottom of the roster really came through in critical moments. So everyone looks at the top. I get that. That's important. But it's only 53 men. So if he makes the team, he is really important to what the Chargers are doing. And you gotta keep in mind that, oh yeah, there's Christopher Hinton, who could be a really big player for the Chargers. Hasn't been here, hasn't had a chance to get his really settled in anywhere. And he could be really settled in with the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, if you haven't subscribed, would love if you would do that. And especially if you watched a few videos now, definitely subscribe, and we'll see all of you on the next one.